All right, welcome back. Let's answer some of your questions now. First up, Joe, coming to you from Jeffrey in Brooklyn. Chewy just came up with earnings the other week. Instead of just investing in one pet-related stock, what about the ProShares Pet Care ETF? Pause.
Love that trade. And it's a trade that I put on about a month and a half ago. I don't like the overconcentration just allocating towards Chewy. I want more diversification. The Pause ETF gives you that. You get exposure to Zoetis. You get exposure to Merck. You get exposure to Freshpet. It's not just about Chewy.
All right. John Najarian, Jane in Florida wants to know about Maxar Technologies. What do you think?
Well, Jane, I like it. I haven't liked the lack of performance for the past, basically the last month. I haven't been in it the whole month. But, Scott, it was down about 12 or 13%. We saw some unusual activity, I think, a week ago, Scott. Bought those calls. I am still holding those, Jane, and I expect better things to come for the satellite broadcaster.
Stock getting a little bit of a lift there. Jenny, coming to you. Mike in Philly. You still like B&G Foods after the run it's had?
I sure do. You know how we spoke earlier in the show about bonds and how it's really hard to invest in bonds given how little yield there is?
I remember.
With the 7% yield here, yeah, with the 7% yield here, I think you've got maybe GDP growth on top of that. It sure does seem like it's better than a bond. That being said, don't expect another 40% increase on this for the next year.
Mr. Wonderful, Josh in New York wants to know about CrowdStrike. What do you think about it?
Absolute buy and hold. That's my opinion. If an indexer comes to you or an institution says, I want to own all the internet giants, you're going to find this name in almost every index with a full weighting between 2 and 5%. It is the go-to name for cloud security, internet security. And so it's on trend. It's on trend while we continue to digitize.
All right, Gary in Wisconsin, Jason wants to know about P&G, which you own. What do you think going into earnings?
We just added it to the portfolio. I think there's just general weakness, as we've all talked about this afternoon, in the dollar. Over 50% of their business is done overseas, and strong demand for consumer products. So I think it's a buy for us.
Joe, round two. Chris in Texas, Domino's reacting badly to earnings. Why?
Because I still don't like the pizza. No, just kidding. It's about the business model, not the product. You had the same reaction, Scott, in April. The stock did not perform. You don't jump out of this name. I'm in this name. This is a stock that continues to give you double-digit returns in terms of sales growth. And by the way, we talk again about going outside the U.S. They highlighted in the conference call the strength in South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, also very low beta, 0.44 to the S&P. I like all of those conditions. Stay with it.
All right. Speaking of outside the U.S., John, Danny in Belgium wants to know about FireEye. What now with that?
Hey, well, Danny, the good news is that there's been a big player who keeps coming back into the options of FireEye and buying just out of the money and then takes profits and rolls them up and up and up. So this one is one that Pete, I think, cited last week, Scott, for unusual activity. I think he's right, and so I think if you're watching from Belgium, hold on to FireEye.
All right, we'll stay international. Jenny, David in Vancouver wants to know whether you're still positive about Navient for the long term, NAVI.
I sure am. This is another one with an 8% dividend yield that's way better than a bond. They just reported earnings last week, had a fantastic quarter. They have good visibility ahead. Net interest margin trends are actually good for them because they benefit from lower rates. So I think on this one, you get your 8%, maybe plus some real upside potential on the stock.
All right, Kevin O'Leary, Eric in Chicago, Pinduoduo, is it currently a buy?
It is. I'll tell you, it is one of the top internet giants for consumers in China. And it's the first company of its kind to really combine social media with the purchase of consumer products. So you can find friends and family that are buying the same food product or whatever it is on the platform, and they give you a discount for being part of the club. I don't know why we're not doing that here on Amazon yet. It should be starting soon. It's a behemoth. It's one of the top 10 names to own in internet giants.
Okay. Lastly, Jason, to you. Anthony in North Carolina, Lowe's has not really been moving with the market for the last few sessions. What do you think? Has it peaked, or is there room to grow?
Yeah, I think there's room to grow there. Very strong leadership in Marvin Ellison, former executive of Home Depot. They've made a tremendous amount of investment in their business analytics and e-commerce. And I think, you know, the kind of trend of doing the side projects at home, and the longer this lasts, I think there's room to grow there.